Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of So How'd You Get Here? I'm one of your hosts, Angelo.
And I'm Tony.
Hey, welcome to the show. Coming at you from Memorial Day weekend in Hollywood. Just want to say hi. Thanks everybody who continues to listen every week. Hit that like button, or if even better, smash that subscribe button. That's the best. Let's see. Let's just get into it. Today, our guest, we bringing him in from Jersey. He's an East Coaster. Been out in LA for a little while. He's a writer and a producer. And
an Academy Award winner, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that one little detail.
Academy Award winner.
Not sure if you heard of a movie called The Black Klansman, but we're bringing in today one of the writers. I'd like to welcome to the show David Rabinowitz. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
You nailed it.
Nice.
Done. All right. Well, thank you, man, for being on the show today, coming in. Appreciate you giving up a Sunday and coming in and chatting with us. So,
of course,
let's get started.
I mean, just like every show, let's kind of just dive in and, where are you from? How'd you get started? How'd you get into writing? All the good stuff.
So I am from Jersey, although I'm not coming out today from Jersey.
No. You've been in LA for
I've been in LA
for
almost a decade.
Nice.
But we need East Coast representation.
There you go. I agree.
All right.
So I grew up in Jersey. East Brunswick is the town. And I found out at like second grade that I liked writing.
Oh.
It was because I was in elementary school, and my teacher did a thing called Writer's Workshop, which is probably like once a week. She gave us some time just to like write, like creatively, which like blew my mind, because normally when you're writing in school, it's like an essay, and it's like not fun. And this, when I did it, it didn't feel like school anymore. I started writing like short stories. Like I still remember like the first short story that I wrote.
That is a good teacher, by the way.
Yes.
Mrs. Warren, yes.
Mrs. Warren. Shout out to Mrs.
Warren. Thank you.
Hey.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, like I literally I would just like write these short stories, and it was like a lot of fun.
Do you remember what the basis of like your first couple were? Or?
I remember my first short story. It was called The Haunted House.
Ooh.
Was it about a haunted house?
It was about a haunted.
No way.
Got it.
Who owns the options for that?
No one yet, but maybe I should pitch it to you.
Let's talk afterwards.
Okay, so there's a haunted house.
Love it. Sold.
For some reason at the time, like I guess you don't have the self-awareness when you're a second grader to know, like, oh, I really like this. Maybe I should do this. I thought I was like a math or science or astronomy person, so I didn't really like pursue it until. I still kind of dabbled in writing throughout like middle school and whatnot, but it wasn't until high school when I started like getting into movies in a serious way. Like I always loved movies. I always loved going to the theater.
Same.
But then there's a point, and you guys probably feel the same way. Like there's a point where like it switches from just like the movies that like everybody watches to you get like you go a degree or two further where you're like, oh, like I'm watching these classic movies.
Right.
I'm watching these indie movies. I'm watching these like movies that aren't from the U.S.
Yeah.
And it kind of expands your mind.
Absolutely.
And to be like, oh wow, like I didn't know movies could be like this, And at that point, I was like,
when how old were you when you started switching, or if you can remember a moment when you started going from I don't want to be just a spectator anymore. I might want to participate in making those.
I was probably like 15 or 16. A couple of things happened. First of all, I was starting to make videos with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
We would like shoot stuff. And I discovered editing, which was huge.
What did you start on?
Okay.
Premiere, Final Cut?
No. Windows Movie Maker.
Yes,
the first one.
same.
Did you too?
Same, with a 400 speed FireWire connected.
The FireWire.
Yes.
So, and it's so.
I'm completely lost.
I'll explain to you later, Tony.
It's
don't worry.
so easy these days to get footage from a camera onto a computer. Back then, it
impossible.
was it was a whole process. But once you figure it out and you got like the FireWire, you install it, and then you got the cable, it was like magic. It's like almost like it that opens everything up when you can actually edit. But the thing that Windows Movie Maker 1 did not have, I don't know if you remember this, you could not separate the video and the audio.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And I very quickly learned, oh, that's a huge part of it. And so
this would have been what, 2002, 3?
2002.
Okay.
There you go. Well done.
We're on the same page.
So it was that. and we even started to like make like in school, like if we would have an assignment, we would just like make a video.
Right.
We'd like almost like make a little
Right.
short film. And I graduated to like the next video editing software. I don't remember what it was called. It was really like kind of buggy, but it was.
Were
you could
you
do a lot more with
writing
it.
these scenes that you were shooting for your buddies, or collaboratively?
At first, like no, we would kind of just wing it.
Got it.
But so at the same time, what I started to do, I was like, wait, I like movies a lot. I'm making these like short
Yep.
films. There's this thing called screenwriting. Maybe I should check this out.
Yep.
Because like making videos is so much fun, but like it takes a lot. You have to like corral a bunch of people,
Yeah.
shoot stuff. Screenwriting you can do by yourself. And I'm like, I remember back to second grade. I'm a writer, or I like writing. I think I like writing. I literally remember Googling screenwriting, and seeing the format and
Yep.
like, and so I started writing scripts in Microsoft Word.
So you weren't like on the school newspaper, any of
No.
that type of writing. You
Nope.
just more creative.
It was more.
Got
it.
it.
Yeah,
Got
it was
it.
always creative.
Yep.
And I started kind of just diving into like screenwriting, like educating myself, but then also like writing scripts. And I wrote my first feature length script when I was probably 16 or 17.
Wow.
And it was
The Haunted House too.
It was Haunted House. Yeah. It was an adaptation actually of that short story. No, it was like a Tarantino ripoff.
Oh, okay.
Of course. It was so bad, but
Pulp nonfiction. What did we write?
it was
non-pulp fiction.
Yeah.
it was like I'm trying to remember. It was kind of like a noirish kind of crime thriller story. The premise wasn't awful, but the execution was just
Right.
terrible. I think the good thing about it was I had fun doing it, and when it was done, I read it and I'm like, this is really bad,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
But
Oh, so you
knew
didn't
that.
you didn't read it and be like, we're gonna sell this.
No,
They're making this.
because I was
That's a good sign,
I was-
by the way.
I was
You-
I was comparing it to the stuff that was actually good. I'm like, this is not even close to measuring up. So it was kind of all that stuff happening like when I was in high school at the same time. And Charlie, who's my now writing partner, was one of those friends that we were making videos together.
Oh, cool.
So that's
So
kinda where we started.
do you go between writing by yourself and collaborating, or is it collaboration all the time?
Right now, because that's that's our job. We're a unit. We're pretty much
A team.
we're a team, exactly, a unit. I
And
don't
would
know
you
why I
be
said
willing to talk a little bit about that? Like, is his strength dialogue and yours is structure, or are you really good at imagination? He's more good at practicality, or do you both have overlapping talents? Like, talk a little bit about that process.
That's a really interesting question. I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
I think sometimes like depends on the project. Like certain things like one of us will have like an expertise on it. Like for example, like something we're working on now is it's set in the world of baseball. And I like baseball. I don't really follow it, but it's like when it get to like kind of the technical jargon
Yeah.
of a character like talking about like, oh, this player's really good because XYZ. I'm just like just when I'm writing it, I'm just like
See, Charlie.
yeah. Yeah, right. Just something like
Baseball stuff.
baseball
goes
stuff,
here.
baseball jargon.
Yeah, of course.
And then he'll fill it in.
Got it.
So it's always like that. It's more specific than that. And the way that we work is that we have these detailed outlines that we work on together in like a shared Google Doc. But then when we go off to write it, we'll basically split it in half.
Cool.
And like one of us will take Act 1 and Act 3, and the other one will take Act 2, and they're usually like roughly similar size, and then we'll swap.
Was Charlie as passionate about the same stuff you were high school through college, or did you kind of have to like, well, this is the path I'm going, and then he came in later?
He was so when he went to college, he was interested in directing
Oh, cool.
more, and I was more interested in
Writing.
writing. We weren't serious, even though like we had like technically collaborated by making videos. We weren't like seriously talking about working together. We were just sort of we had me, him, and our other friends had just made stuff.
Yeah.
And we knew that we all wanted to do this. And after college, Charlie basically came straight out here.
Got it.
And he like became an assistant and did that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was in New York, well, technically Jersey City, but I was working in New York for a few years in news. And so I was doing that while Charlie and some of our other friends already moved out to LA.
We talked a little bit about this off camera, but you went to Quinnipiac University, which doesn't have a huge film program per se. So were you still just writing the whole time, or
At the time,
an English major? Like, what was your?
my concentration was technically called media production.
Okay.
So I learned a lot of like kind of practical production stuff, and we're talking about like the studio. That served me really well in my first job in news because my title was literally multimedia producer.
Got it.
And I worked in a studio kind of very similar to this with the cameras, live switching. We had these shows that I crewed on, like live stream news shows, and we did a bunch of interviews that I would shoot and edit.
Yeah, but that's probably really helpful. Not only does it give you another skill to make money with, but it also gets you kind of educated in how to conduct yourself on set, how cameras and structure and editing work. Like, that's got to affect in a good way your writing. Or
I think so. I think in a few ways. I think, well, first of all, you learn how to. There's a storytelling element to it, whether it's an interview or sometimes a package. Like you have to keep it tight. You learn to work on deadlines because it's news, and a lot of things are this is tied to the day's news. It has to get put out by the end of the day. But then also, being in a production environment, well, it was interesting because it was a production environment, but also it was at a newspaper. So it was a media environment, and then it was sort of a corporate environment. It was kind of all these things at the same time. And it was really, it was a really interesting job.
But you found a job right out of college.
It wasn't like right out. It was because I graduated in 2009. That was the worst.
Yeah, the worst.
time.
Yeah.
But it was.
Yeah.
It was pretty soon. I was lucky in the sense that the summer before senior year, a friend of mine who's also out here, who we are collaborating with, he had a job at this place. He was kind of working a summer job, and they needed somebody at the last minute, like the summer before my senior year. And he's like, "Can you do it on a Friday?" He's like, "Can you come in on Monday?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I just kind of worked the whole summer full time. And so when they had an opening, that same job was like, "Oh, can you come back?"
Got it.
So it wasn't immediately after I graduated, but pretty less than a year.
And
so,
then
go ahead. No, I was just going to ask. So take us to the next. So
Yeah.
you enjoy writing growing up, into movies, enjoyed editing. That's very similar path for at least for me. What made that jump now to get you out to
Hollywood.
Hollywood?
I continued writing throughout college and then into this first job, although not as much as I should have. I look back, I'm like, I should have written like 5 more scripts. But I continued, and Charlie was writing stuff too. He was already out in LA, and we were like, send each other our scripts and like give each other notes. Then I moved out here in 2012. Because I had friends out here. My job in New York, I was done with it. It's like I was 25. It's like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah.
And then I came out here, and we kind of did what we did before, but on a bigger scale, and just kind of made short films. And then at a certain point,
were you roommates? Were you like writing?
We were
was
not.
Was this like a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon scenario? Or
We were not roommates. But we were like he would like make a short film, and like I would help produce it.
Got it.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And then like maybe a couple years in, we decided like, let's try writing together. Why not? That's the next thing, because we had done it. We had written individually. Let's start writing together. And the first thing we wrote was a pilot, and it's like that went well. I like to say like we didn't kill each other, so that we can let's move on to the next thing. And the next thing that we wrote together was the first feature, turned out to be Black Klansman.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Normally there's a bigger build up to
Yeah.
that, but you were just like, and dunk.
Yeah, right. I mean, I do like to say like I think I've either misspoken or been misinterpreted of like that was the first script that I wrote.
Yeah.
No. Like we'd both written a bunch before. It was the first feature that we wrote together. So that's like, but yeah, I mean, it's still
that
so
happened.
great.
That happened to get sold, and then also it's based on a book, is it not? So did you have to get the rights? Did you get the?
Can you let's walk back to take us through that process over at least 10 minutes of conversation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Getting the rights, structure, story
Right.
idea, how'd you meet Spike Lee, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I will take you through step by
Yes.
step.
Love it.
Disneyland
Love it.
tour.
Yeah.
We want to know.
Okay, so we'd written this pilot, and we were looking for the next thing, and then my writing partner, what was it? Someone he went to high school with, so someone we both went to high school with, actually, posted something on Facebook, and it was about this amazing true story about this detective, Ron Stallworth, in Colorado Springs, how he infiltrated the Klan in the 70s. And Charlie read the article, and then in the article there was a link to this book that Ron had written, a memoir about this investigation. And it was this small, like, kind of independent publishing company. It was almost like self-published.
Yeah.
And Charlie read it and sent it to me, and I read it, and we're like, wow, like, this is a movie. Why isn't this a movie?
Right.
And Charlie reached out to this publishing company, and we got in touch with Ron, and we're like, hey, like, what's going on with this? Like, is this available? And it was. And so we put together this, like, one-page document on, like, how we would do it. And we gave it to him, and we met up with him. He was in town for, I think he was sort of doing, like, a book tour. And so we met with him. And
What was the book called?
It was called Black Klansman.
Oh, it was.
Just, 2 words, no K in the middle.
Got it.
Which I always thought that's a great title.
Yeah.
It's the high concept.
Right.
It's the main character.
It's all the things Save the Cat tells you to have.
It's everything. It's perfect. And we're basically like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we would do. And Ron was like, great, like, go for it. We found out later, like, he had tried a couple times to get this movie.
I was going to say, yeah.
And it, for whatever, because these things often don't pan out, it didn't. So he was willing to just sort of take why not? So we never got the rights. It was a handshake deal between us and him. Technically, we could have gotten screwed over.
Yeah.
But we didn't. It was we were trusting Ron. Ron was trusting us. He's like, you guys can do this, but I want to be involved at every point. And we're like, great. So at every stage, we wrote an outline, we gave it to Ron, and we had a phone call with him. Every draft we sent to him. He gave us notes, on everything. And also, like, sometimes, like, you work with people, like, about their true story, and they're like, well, it didn't happen like that. And it's tricky because when you're adapting a true story, like, you have to make changes. You have to make it more cinematic. There are definitely things, obviously,
some
like,
liberties you got to take.
You have to take liberties, and Ron was totally cool with that.
Yeah.
That's good, because you would have had a tough fight if you didn't.
You're also probably telling them, like, listen, we're not doing a documentary. Like, if you want to make a movie,
definitely. And being undercover, you're an actor.
You're an actor.
Correct.
Yeah.
And just to fast forward, I'm going to continue this story.
Sure.
Fast forward, he loves the movie.
Oh, that's
great.
That's a really good sign.
Like, we've done some Q&As after screenings, and, like, when you do a Q&A, you go for, like, the last 5 minutes, and then you do the Q&A.
Yeah.
But when Ron was doing Q&As, like, he would watch the movie. He likes watching the movie.
Yeah.
Which is
That's awesome.
and
that's
then,
a good. I mean, that's a high compliment coming from the from the experience of the person. That's good.
yeah, because you want him to have
Also, what a great resource to have, the fact that he was alive. It's not just based on a book that the guy passed away.
Completely.
You guys got to figure it out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like to have him there, like giving us notes. On these things is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was 2015. We found the book in July of 2015. At some point in this process of writing it, Charlie, from being an assistant, he knew people. He knew a few people, and he knew this producer named Sean Reddick.
Okay.
And he just sort of casually mentioned what we were working on this to Sean, and he kind of got excited about it and brought us in to pitch him and his partner he was working at the time. He was working with a company called QC Entertainment.
Okay.
And so
have they done anything before, like, that we'd know?
Well, yeah, they had a few things, but they weren't like. It
wasn't Imagine Entertainment. It wasn't.
They weren't big. Right. They were kind of up and coming.
Got it.
But they will soon have something. It's part of this story. So
got it.
We come up with this like 15-minute pitch, and we pitch it to Sean and the guys at QC.
By the way, is this your first time pitching a project
ever?
Okay. Because we've been experiencing this too. It's like, we got to work on this pitch, and we got to get ready, and then you hear from everyone like, this is how you pitch things.
It is I mean, we could just talk about pitching.
Pitching,
It's a necessary evil for It's like funny because writers write generally because they're writers, not necessarily performers.
Right.
So then, but to get jobs, you have to become this performer.
Well, you could also be the best actor ever, but if you can't audition, you usually don't get the part.
That's a great point. And like, I think writers should have more empathy for actors because we do the same thing. Pitching is like auditioning in a lot of ways. You guys, the fact that you're actors, I think you have a leg up in the pitching department. You know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because you still act even when you sit at your keyboard. You just do it in your head. I guarantee you talk it out.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, as a writer, I do more acting, probably writing, than I do acting.
That's true. Oh, well.
And so you have some skill. I bet you do. It's just having to do it in front of people in front of like a camera.
So I do because I've specifically worked on performing. That's another thing. I tell writers to find opportunities to perform.
100%.
It's a huge leg up. That's a separate.
Because if you have a great script and you get nervous and can't pitch it, you kill it. Even though it's something great, you just got in your own way.
Totally. And so this was, we were still writing it. We pitched it. They liked it, but it's not like the type of thing that they would have acquired at that point. They're like, the best result we could have gotten, which is what we got, was when you're done with the script, give it to us so that we can read it. And then the key thing they said in this meeting was, we are working with Jordan Peele on his first movie, this thing called Get Out.
Oof.
Jordan might be like, this would be an easy conversation to have, like with him, like Jordan.
The stars are all aligning.
Jordan might be interested, right? At the time, this was 2015. Like no one knew what Get Out was. They were in early pre-production on it. I knew Jordan from Key and Peele.
Yeah, same, of course, but
which was great.
That's not feature though. That's little comedy bits.
It's not a horror movie.
Right. Exactly. So we didn't know, but it was still exciting because it's like, Jordan Peele, like sure. So we finished the script. We were happy with it. Ron was happy with it. We gave it to Sean, and Sean gave it to Jordan. And it didn't happen that quickly, but like at some point in 2016, we got the call like Jordan is in as producer, and maybe even director of this thing. And we're like, okay, this is actually kind of becoming something.
Not to cut you off, are you guys repped at this time?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
You're about to be real quick.
You're like freelancing this the whole like just.
Completely.
Yeah, it's all handshakes. It's all like
all of that.
Amount,
all of that. More Charlie because he's better at the whole like that stuff.
Yep.
So is Tony.
Yeah.
I can do the thing, but
there's always someone in the partnership who's better at that. I think, I mean, when you ask about like strengths, like the whole like networking business aspect, it's definitely not me.
Me neither.
You have to have that. Okay, right. I got it.
Don't repeat that. I don't want anyone else to know.
Got it.
All of the world on YouTube.
All talent.
Face talent.
Got it. And so, okay, so Jordan's in as a producer, and so this thing isn't really real for me until at some point in 2016, we go to the offices of QC, and
where are these? These are here in LA, yes?
Here in LA, and Jordan Peele shows up to give us notes on the script, and then suddenly it becomes real. Real. And this is like a couple days after he won an Emmy for Key and Peele, and then it's just like he's right here, and it's us and Jordan and the other producers, and we spent an hour talking about the script, and it was like, wow, like this is amazing, and he had some like great notes for us.
Big changes or
not huge, not huge.
Was Ron there with
That's
you?
A good sign.
Ron was not there.
Okay.
After that, this was kind of later 2016. I remember us leaving because they wanted to talk about Get Out, which was in post at that time, and then what happens? Early 2017, Get Out comes out.
It's a monster hit.
Yeah. I mean, like, I remember going opening weekend at the ArcLight, like 8 p.m. Friday, and it was like the Cinerama Dome, and it was like totally packed. And like, I don't know if I ever remember a movie playing as well. Like, there's very few movies that play as well as that movie to a huge packed movie theater crowd.
Yeah.
I also think because people didn't really know what it was.
No.
That helped.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And walking out, and everybody's just like talking about it and it's just like, this is gonna be a hit. Like, you can just tell.
In
And
the
it's
back of
just-
your mind, are you like, I know something you don't know? Like the director of this movie that's a hit likes our thing.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I was like, I had a kind of secret. I mean, obviously, like, the movie was great, but also, like, I was also rooting for the movie selfishly.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because if it does well,
Yeah.
yours is probably next.
That's the thing. So Jordan, overnight, he goes from this like respected sketch actor to the most sought after filmmaker in Hollywood, and we were his next
Thing.
Yeah. And so that's where kind of the serendipity and the luck comes in. Suddenly, you know, he's not going to direct it anymore, but he's our producer.
Yeah, he's in. Yeah.
Did he give any insight as to he quickly said yes to produce, but was tentative about directing? Is it because he'd already directed one, or he had Spike in mind for it? Like,
I think it was like before Get Out happened. I think he was. Well, I'm not going to speculate. I know what happened after. He just wanted to do originals.
Got it.
It's like, Get Out. Like, he's going to be someone who can actually, and we've seen that.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a new movie coming out.
Yep.
Like, he's someone who can make an original movie and people will come out. There's no reason for him to do our thing. But he called up Spike and just and sent him the script. By the way, when we first started writing it, it was a joke between Charlie and I that Spike Lee was going to direct it. It was like literally a joke. And so it happened pretty quickly after that. We found out the producers were meeting with Spike, and he signed
should joke about stuff more often.
Yeah, right.
Put it out there.
$1 million. I'm gonna win it. Yeah, go.
Yeah, that would be so funny, wouldn't it?
We're your friends too if you win.
Right, included.
And then take us through obviously Jordan walks it in, or at least hands it off to get Spike attached, and he's still on board to produce.
Yes.
And then take us through that.
But someone at Spike Lee's level is going to take this now seriously because a call is coming from Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I mean that's it. He made that connection.
Yeah.
And so
now during this time, is there any contracts? Are you guys getting paid to write drafts yet? Is there anything?
No. Well, we got an option purchase deal.
Okay.
In like 2016.
Got
so
it.
We did sign that contract, but it wasn't like enough for us to like quit our jobs or anything like that. It was just like a little bit of money and just like kind of locking us in.
That's for the struggling people that are still watching our YouTube and listening. You just weren't getting paid to be writers yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Just like a little bit of like an option money, which is not that much. And then once Spike is involved, like things kind of just go from there. The last thing, honestly, that we had to do, or like I had to do, was. And this is so like specific and nerdy, but like we write in Fade In, the software, and Spike and his writing partner Kevin Wilmot were going to do drafts, and they write in Final Draft. So I had to convert the file from Fade In to Final Draft, and then when you do those conversions, sometimes there's formatting errors. So I was sitting in my kitchen in my apartment, looking through Final Draft, making sure there were no errors, and I was like, I've never been so self-conscious about a document in my entire life, because this is going directly to Spike Lee.
Yeah.
So we
do you write in Final Draft now?
No, Fade In.
Still Fade In. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
And so it got sent off to Spike, and then they were going to do the next draft, and then we're just waiting.
To stop you there, because we've talked to other writers on here, was there ever a point where Spike Lee gets attached, him and his writing partner, they're like, okay, Craig, and then do they ever say to you, here's $150,000, go away, we're now going this route? Or did you guys have like a leg to stand on and be like, this is our original idea, we got Ron, like how does that work?
Well, I think it's mostly the Writers Guild.
Okay. You were protected by them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, contract and everything.
Got it.
And if there's multiple writers like that, it's probably going to go to arbitration through the Writers Guild.
Got it.
Which is what happened automatically, because Spike is if you're a director and you're also writing, it'll just automatically do that.
Yep.
And then we all got credit.
Got it.
Of screenplay, which is appropriate, because they made some, they did a lot of work on it.
Yeah.
Honestly. But the next thing we knew, we were being brought into the offices of the producers to read the script that they had rewritten, and like they weren't going to send it to us in a PDF because the security was really tamped down on it. It was like secret, so it was so surreal. Like
You had to drive to the office and read a physical copy there.
physical
Yep,
copy
Yep.
in the
Heard that.
physical office, and it was so surreal reading this thing. It was like, this is simultaneously, this is our script. It's also not. And because it's gone through the pen of these two other guys, one of which is a legendary filmmaker.
Right.
And it was just so surreal, just seeing like, oh yeah, that is our scene, but it's also like a little different.
Yep.
And then there were some like, completely new things that are very Spike Lee, and then I mean from there wasn't really much for us to do except wait for the movie to come out.
Did you like his changes? You can say whatever you want because the movie's out.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes. I mean, some of them were like, oh wow, like that's really interesting. I don't quite get it until I see it on screen.
Right.
Because he takes chances. He takes these chances, and he takes chances that like most filmmakers don't, and he also pulls them off.
Yeah. And he's so established by now that he can get away with all those things too.
Exactly. I mean, I'll give you an example. Early in the film, and this is a true story, a true part of the story. Ron goes undercover, and there's this speech by the character Kwame Ture, and in our draft, we have the speech, but it's a very small part of it, and that then. Because it's not necessarily about the speech, it's about Ron being in that situation.
Yeah.
Spike, you read it, it's a full speech. And Spike essentially stops the movie to have this speech get, have it presented.
Yeah.
And again, that's something that like not another filmmaker probably wouldn't even attempt.
Yeah.
But since he's Spike, he does it and he pulls it off.
Got it.
So there's a lot of stuff like that, and then we're just sort of waiting. Now, at this point, the script, it's an option purchase deal. The script hasn't sold until it goes into production. So we're waiting, and then in like something like the late part of 2017, it goes into production, the script sells. So then a few things happen. Around that time, we get agents, and we get a check. And we
quit our jobs.
Quit our day jobs and become full-time screenwriters with agents who get to start to go on meetings, although we are also completely unemployed because there's no job. There wasn't like a job waiting for us.
It's funny how that happens. I got a check and an award and a script, and I'm unemployed.
Yeah. I mean, that's
true.
That's the nature of the business.
Was there ever a time where you thought, okay, Spike's attached, him and his writing partner, but this might not even go? Or was it pretty guaranteed to be?
Once Spike,
you thought it was being made.
Yeah,
you knew.
It felt like it was barreling toward production.
Okay.
And that wasn't just us like thinking like it was what we were being told of like, yeah, this is happening. Which was, I mean, I don't want to downplay it. Like this was all mind blowing as it was happening.
Of course.
And especially like I'd wanted to be a screenwriter since I was like 16 years old.
Yeah. Second grade actually.
So yeah, technically second grade. And this is, I guess 13, 14 years later after I started, screenwriting. But yeah, like, so now we're in this situation where this movie is happening and we're starting to do the thing of being a new screenwriter, which is go out and, meet people.
Absolutely. But during production, were you ever tapped or brought on set or any consulting, anything like that?
We never went. We probably could have, but it was mostly happening in New York, and it's like we don't want to, there was nothing for us to do there. You'd probably just be in the way. I've been on sets before, even like sets where I'm like a producer and I'm like, I'm just in the way of people. Like there's people actually who
I've
have
got
jobs.
Haunted House 2 to work on. At home.
Right.
I should
be there.
Not here.
Yeah, exactly. Getting those ghosts in there.
So we went into production. You guys got a check. You got agents. Are the agents getting you out for pitch meetings? Are you like now?
They're sending us off on general meetings.
Got it.
We are
asking you what your next thing is because you already are paid screenwriters.
Yeah.
And what do you guys got in the works?
Yeah, it's a lot of that, and we had at the time, I don't remember exactly when, but like we had already sort of started working on, or maybe had finished a draft of the next script that we wrote, but I don't think it was ready yet. Or no, maybe we were working on it.
Got it.
And that's something actually that's we're still working on to this day. We can talk about that. But we were basically just meeting with these production companies, executives, and like studios and stuff, and getting some opportunities to pitch on jobs,
Right.
really, and maybe do work on things, develop things,
Yeah.
or whatever.
So since Black Klansman was an adapted screenplay, are they asking you for originals? Are they trying to see, hey, well, we have these IPs. Can you guys work on it, or what do you guys think? What are your ideas on these?
It was mostly that.
Okay.
Because that's what most of the open writing assignments for screenwriters are.
Yeah.
It's like there's IP. We need a writer to come in and adapt it into a movie, or sometimes TV series.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of that, but a lot of general meetings honestly it's general.
Yeah.
There's no specific thing. They just want to meet you and just to
Right.
meet you and put a face to the name, and then maybe something down the line. It'll
Cool.
you can work together.
Can I want to, if I could, I'd like to go in deep on the writing side of things and just ask like one core question of what's one of your favorite elements of writing in terms of screenplay, and then what's maybe the thing that's really difficult if you have one. And it doesn't have to be so binary like that, but
Yeah.
the thing you love or the thing you dread.
Oh. I mean, dialogue is always fun,
Yes.
right? Dialogue is kind of just like having the characters talk. That's probably
dessert.
That's dessert.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's your vegetables?
So vegetables sometimes can be like the whole structure and breaking story. At the same time, that can be the most satisfying thing when you figure out a story problem.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like a crossword puzzle or something like that. You're trying to just sort of figure out how the pieces match, and then when they do, it's super satisfying.
And do you write? Yes, I agree with that. The story structure is always the thing that I think takes me the longest. But what do you kind of go through the same process every time on it? Let's just say a screenplay.
Yeah.
Because TV and short stories are different,
Right.
obviously. But do you start with note cards? Do you do the save the cat, or are you more of a no? I just outline, and then we both start breaking it up and taking page assignments. Like if you're allowed to, what you're able
Processes,
to share.
yeah.
What's a little bit of that process look like for you?
It's a little bit different each time, but generally it's outline first. But it's like there's no like rhyme or reason to there's no like specific linear step for it. It's mostly the way I like to look at it is like you go between the 50,000-foot view and like the super, super granular view. 50,000-foot view is like, okay, well, what are the major incidents of each act? Or like even like what's the one major thing that happened in each act? Or like where are we starting, where are we ending? And then once you're there, you can jump to so specific of, well, what's some like scenes that are going to be? And like, or like literally like, what are some moments we want to have or some lines? And then you're kind of ping-ponging between those two things until the story starts taking shape. I think the key is like to embrace how messy it's going to be, because it's going to be so messy for the longest time until it starts to take shape. And so you're just sort of filling in all these things. I've tried to do the note card thing. It doesn't really work for me. I lose them, or they just they just go everywhere. We just use like Google Docs, or I'll use like the text thing on Macs. It's so messy. That's the only thing that's consistent, the messiness.
But you're both the same way?
I think he's a little less messy than I think I think I'm a little bit messier. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're both. But it's like it ends up in this Google Doc that's like an outline form. And it ends up being super detailed because it has to be, because we're going to split it up. So I have to know what he's writing. He has to know what I'm writing.
So it sounds like you definitely have you guys complement each other on some amount of strengths or relationship in terms of breaking down and dividing up the work and getting certain things done.
Yeah.
Well, if you could give us a little bit of insight on that as well. Like obviously writers fight creatively. That doesn't mean you're not friends, and you clearly are successful at it. Like iron sharpens iron there, but I don't know if you're allowed to talk a little bit about that as well.
Let's see. Am I allowed?
Well, maybe you don't want to show behind the curtain, and that's okay too.
Well, I think it's just, I mean, you're right. It's just like it's any like creative partnership, or if you're in any sort of collaboration, like there's gonna be there's challenges in that. Okay, well, you look at like a band. bands, when they record an album, everybody wants to get their songs on the record.
Right.
It's kind of like that with writing. Like you want to get your ideas in there. What I have found is generally if one of us like puts out an idea and the other one says yes to it, then that's going to work. If one of us says, that's not really working, then we have to figure out something else. And a lot of times there'll be a situation where we both kind of have different solutions to a problem, and neither of us are seeing the other side, and that means there's a third thing that's going to actually work. And we just have to work
at it
more.
Yeah.
Which is that's the hard part, just kind of keep iterating and just like working at it until the solution presents itself.
Going back to Black Klansman, from production to obviously the movie's done, gets released, I don't know, a year and a half? Maybe? Came out in 2018 or 19?
18. So
Okay.
it went to production in 2017 and it came out in 18. It was fast. It was a fast.
And then the
process.
Oscars came 2019, February, right? Or whatever, March of that year.
Yeah.
So during that time, you're going on all these meetings. Are you getting hired for any jobs? Or you guys have anything in the works?
Our first thing was, it was like maybe 10 months after we start full time.
Okay.
A couple of French producers hired us to write a pilot for them. So that was cool. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was our first job. And then the next thing was not too long after that, we sold a pitch.
Oh, awesome.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, well,
that doesn't happen very often.
no,
anymore.
it was based on a book, like a true story book. And what we did was our agents set us up on we pitched to 35 different production companies over 3 weeks. It was insane. And this was this was like a 25-minute pitch. But by the end, it might have even been a 30-minute pitch because we kept changing it, adding to it. And
So you're really good at pitching.
Yeah.
now.
When's your YouTube tutorial coming out on pitching?
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think we somehow, at a certain point, we got better, and then we started getting worse, I think, somehow. And this is the thing, 'cause obviously now pitching is different. It's mostly over Zoom. At the time we're there. There's no notes. We have it. We
Memorize
rehearsed
that.
it.
Yeah.
But sometimes we were doing 4 or 5 in a single day. And that was tough. But what was cool was there were a lot of people that we hadn't met yet. So that kind of doubled as a general meeting. We're also meeting with them. And out of that, some producers were interested, and then we had to pick a couple, and then we picked 2. And so one producer covers these studios, and another producer covers these. So then we had to go with them now. So at first, the producer's on the other side of the table. Now the producer is on this side of the table, and the other side is the studio.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the producer has their notes, so we have to modify the pitch. So depending on which producer we're with, we have slightly different pitches.
And who they're pitching to for what? And I mean, you adjust pitches for each studio if you know what they're looking for.
Yeah, maybe there was a little bit of that, but it was more of the taste of the producer.
Copy that.
And then so we had another, maybe 7 or 8 pitches to these studios, and then they felt, it was already nerve-wracking before, but
Right.
now it's even more because these are the people who could, say
yes or no.
say yes or no, right? And then we ended up selling it, thankfully, so that was our first kind of big.
So those,
thing.
for the audience that doesn't know, when you sell a pitch, you're just selling the idea, and then they're hiring you to hopefully go write the screenplay after that?
Exactly.
Okay.
They're hiring you to write it. You will, yeah. And it's because it was 25 minutes. It was one of those pitches where we laid out the entire story.
Yeah.
Pretty much beat by beat. They knew exactly what they were buying.
Got it.
They're no longer apparently, I don't know if it's real, but they're back in the day, you could just say,
astronauts, moon,
yeah,
sold.
exactly. It's not like that anymore, unfortunately. That'd be great. So we were basically hired. It was a job. It's selling a pitch, but it was a job really to write this thing.
Is that anywhere near production?
It kind of got caught. It was sold to Fox 2000, which doesn't exist anymore. Disney acquired Fox and got rid of that division, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle there.
Is it in turnaround? Can you get the right? Is it?
It could be. Well, yeah. I mean, it technically, I think, could be in turnaround if another studio came in to grab it, but that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But
So now you win the Academy Award.
Yeah.
For best adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
With your partner, with Spike, with his partner. That's got to be the most amount of heat ever is on you right now. Did you feel like that, or are you like, this is really awesome, but we still don't know what we're doing?
Did you just walk around signing autographs
Yeah.
everywhere you go? You have private security.
Okay, well, on that front, I mean, my phone was off during the ceremony, and then you turn your phone on maybe an hour after, and like
Yeah.
everyone you've ever met is
your
either
life.
texting you,
Yeah.
emailing, Facebook messages
Right.
or whatever. And it took me days to I did want to respond to
course.
people. There were people like I hadn't talked to since like middle school, who reached out. So that was crazy. But in terms of the heat question,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean that was definitely helpful, but it wasn't the big jump.
Oh.
The big jump actually was when the movie came out opening weekend, and the reviews were good, and it did well financially compared to its budget.
Got it.
That was when that was the big jump.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. That's kind of how Hollywood works. Like,
Mhm.
awards are great and everything, but it's the
Does it
business.
make money?
Yeah.
Does it make money? Doesn't make money.
Entertainment business. Business part
Yeah.
being
The business part being
the business part.
the business part. Business part being the
In
business
all of those people that were responding to you, Facebook, whatever, did Miss Warren? Did she reach out?
part.
You're a second grade teacher. Did she know?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Maybe is she still alive? I have no idea.
She is. Charlie and I, since we both went to the high school, there was a sort of like
There's now a statue of you guys.
yeah. It's
That is amazing.
I forget what it's like some sort of like Hall of Fame thing for our school, and
Yeah.
and we got some messages. We took this like film appreciation class in senior year,
Mhm.
and so
The auditorium's now named after you guys.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
No,
Congratulations.
well, it was more. It was just like a virtual thing because it's a pandemic.
Oh,
So
got it.
we got like a video message from our film appreciation teacher and also Mrs. Warren.
That's amazing.
So that was cool to see the videos, and then we had to give our awkward little speech.
Right.
Did you one tear and you're like, I'd like to finally thank Miss Warren.
For that creative writing in second grade.
Yeah, maybe I should have.
You should have.
Yeah.
It's all right. We'll go back
I
and
feel
Photoshop
bad.
it.
Feel bad now.
She's gonna watch this, by the way. So make sure you post
Go
this
ahead
on
and
your
cry
Facebook.
now,
Yeah.
and we'll post
Okay.
this and send it to
Can
her.
you? Yeah.
What are you guys
Spicy
working
name.
on right now? Like, what do you?
So we
Also, what is your wheelhouse? Like, obviously, Black Klansman was a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like to write?
what we say is, so after that it was like because I think before the podcast we talked about people being pigeonholed.
Yes.
And it's like pigeonholed maybe is not the right word. It's more of like you have like your thing.
Yeah.
I think you just ask what is your thing, right? Or wheelhouse. We like to say we do like the genre take on true life stories
Okay.
because that's kind of like a nice thing.
Yeah.
But also like the reality hasn't necessarily borne that out.
Yeah.
I think the key is like we do like genre stuff.
Okay.
Even though like our first movie was nominated for awards, but we're not like prestige movie guys. We're like genre people.
Got it.
So we like thrillers. We like, and thriller you can 1 degree away, you can make it into so many things.
Mhm.
Action thriller, sci-fi thriller, mystery thriller, all of that. So that's kind of our bullseye is thriller.
Got it.
And so right now also we're really big horror fans, horror thriller. So we are right now trying to do a horror project that my writing partner is going to direct, is attached to direct.
Oh, wow.
So we're in the process of, and we actually got our other friend involved in that. We made like a proof of concept short film, and then we wrote the script, and now we're trying to kind of get that on its feet.
Very cool.
We're working on a studio.
I was gonna say, so you're doing original things as well as trying to get hired by studios to do IP stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
How long was the proof of concept relative to what the script will be?
you mean the short
The
film?
short,
That was like 12 minutes, and
And for a feature screenplay, correct?
yeah,
You're flushing it out to become a feature screenplay?
exactly. Yeah, the feature is like, I don't know, 100 pages or
Okay.
so.
You're not doing TV out of any of this stuff.
No, but it could. This thing actually could be. It could be TV. So yeah, I don't know.
I see you.
Yeah.
We've tried to do a few TV things. It's mostly been features.
I
You
think
find-
Mr. Robot was a feature script that they broke up into a
Oh,
couple
really?
seasons, so it's possible.
These days, certain things can go one way or the other, and some things kind of do. I mean,
Yeah.
successful film franchises have a TV show that's spawned out of it. It's just
Nice.
how it is, right?
Yep.
And so so we have a studio assignment we're working on right now, and then like that script that we wrote after Black Klansman, we're it's still alive.
The Fox 2000 one?
No,
Oh.
a spec, an
Okay.
original spec.
Got
So we're still sort of that one's still alive. And then we have a few other things just sort of on the
Yeah.
But it's like you have all these irons and you don't know
What's going to take
what's
off?
going to take
Yeah.
off. So
Right. I got two quick questions. One, what's one or two movies that you really liked growing up? Like one of your favorites. You don't have to answer that right away. But number two would be, as you've had success in writing, have you decided to add on any hats? Like, I also want to edit now my thing that gets shot. Or, no, I just want to produce and write. Or, forget it. I have success at this. This is what I want to do.
I'm going to take your second question first.
Exactly.
I don't think I'm going to seek out editing anymore. I've done it. I really like it, but now I can hire somebody who's better at it than me and like kind of just stand behind them if I'm ever going to like direct. And to your point, we are starting to get into producing a little bit. That is definitely something that I'm interested in. Not so much for the putting out fires on set type person, but
Right.
more of in a creative sense of like helping to shepherd things, development, giving notes and stuff like that. And then directing, maybe that's always
I also saw that you took some. Were you an improv actor, or did you like doing that at one point?
I was and I am.
Oh, there you
And
go.
we were talking about performing.
Yeah.
That's been my kind of the performing aspect of it. And
Did that initiate because you wanted to get more confidence in the room, or you just liked comedy?
I all of the above, but it started way before I was a professional screenwriter.
Got it.
I was always interested in it, but it always like terrified me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. The last time I'd been on stage was like fifth grade in my fifth grade play, and but I think it was something that was interesting to me. I saw an improv show in New York on the day that I left my job. It was just like incredible. Like I was so impressed by it. I wanted to know how. Okay, there's a method. I want to know the method.
Yeah.
It's just like really interesting. So I started not long after I moved out here. I started taking classes at Second City Hollywood.
LA, yeah.
And immediately it was like a light bulb. It was like, well, I'm still afraid of this, but this is exactly what I need. And I've continued that.
Very cool.
And it's helped me with pitching, because pitching is a performance, but it's also riffing with executives and producers and
Yeah.
stuff. That's all improv is just taking
The back and
somebody's
forth.
idea.
Yeah.
Smart that you
Yeah.
do that.
Yep.
I bet you that's actually paid off in a lot more ways you probably can't even quantify.
Probably. And then what
Movies.
Was,
Two favorite movies.
movie. So okay,
Or a couple favorite movies.
well,
Come on.
growing up, I think seeing Jurassic Park in the theater when I was in first grade, I think was very. I think that was that was big, and not to be like so cliche of like it feels like everybody of my generation would say that.
It's a good
but-
movie.
It's that, yeah. And I think at the time I was like, I really like dinosaurs, but I think I realized later, I think I really like movies.
Right.
And not to stay with Spielberg creature features, but it was also Jaws. I think Jaws was the other thing, and obviously I didn't see that in a theater, but I that was just on TV always.
Yep.
Growing up, and I don't know, something about those two movies. I could probably say a bunch of others, but those I don't know.
Those are the two big ones.
That I don't know. That just sort of
Absolutely
comes
good
to
picks.
mind.
Man, you just like skipped so many roadblocks and
Yeah.
hurdles. You were just like, nope.
Yeah, super
Jordan,
lucky. I mean, it was
Spike Lee,
it was almost
and I have an Oscar.
it was almost too fast, right? It was almost
Yeah.
just like boom, boom, boom. Like it was like, yeah, almost too fast.
But it's
I would
also
say.
a little insight, a good look at Hollywood, because even though you guys were successful in a short period of time, like you guys aren't necessarily doing, 80 movies. Like, you're not getting hired to write, the next Tom Hanks movie like right away or something.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
guys
we're
are still grinding,
We're still in it.
which
yeah.
is
And to actually piggyback right off that, and by no way do I mean this as like an insult or a pejorative, but if you see this at bands sometimes where they have one hit song and you
Yeah.
never hear from them again.
Yeah.
So, and not that I want that for you, nor do I think that about you, but what have you done in your own life with your writing partner as well to make sure that you guys stay focused and understand it might be 3 years before you sell something again, or it might be 6 months before you get a phone
Not
call.
just sell something like we were talking about earlier. Get it made.
Get it made, yeah,
Yeah.
get it produced. I mean, because
Get it
that's
made.
the true currency of
Right.
professional screenwriters
Right.
is getting a produced credit.
Right.
We have one, we want the second one.
Exactly.
Right.
And that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys are just continue to work and grind, and then hopefully they do get made.
that's
But
it.
at the same time, you still want to get paid as a writer
Absolutely,
for
and,
jobs.
and yeah, just and
Yeah.
stay in the game.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you have to, like anything in Hollywood, because it's so hard. You have to be focused on the process and not the result. You know,
right.
if you enjoy the process, then you'll be fine. If you're only focused
On
on
the
the
result,
result,
yeah.
you will just constantly be in failure.
Yep.
And you won't be able to work
Well said.
or create stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
That's like the best button we could ask for.
That is the best button. We're going to wrap it up with that because we're about at an hour. Oh, one last question we ask everybody who
Oh,
comes
yes.
on. It's
Mm.
just theoretical. If you hadn't have made it, if you hadn't gotten an Oscar your first time out, no. I've never had to say that before. No, if you hadn't have done writing for whatever reason, just doors didn't open up or you just didn't make that choice, is there a second thing that you think might have called to you or that you might have done?
That's a very good question. I can think of a few things. I might have, because I was in news, I might have been in journalism. Maybe, but it's like journalism is also
It's still
extremely hard. Yeah,
reporting
it's
on
still
stories.
it's still storytelling. It's also very hard.
Yeah.
Especially these days to make a living in. Part of there's a version of me that just is working a very kind of boring 9-to-5 corporate job.
Boo. Sorry for you corporate people. I apologize.
But yeah, that's absolutely could have been a possibility. Maybe a teacher.
Yeah.
Maybe a teacher. Yeah. Yeah, one of those three.
Teach creative writing and English.
Probably.
And inspire other kids.
Yeah, I want to be the cool English teacher.
Yeah. Now, do you go back into your high school and or Quinnipiac and talk ever, or has everything kind of been virtual these days?
I've done some virtual.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mentorship or talk
like
to kids.
like talks
Yeah.
like to like classes and stuff like that, and you know there's there's opportunities to answer questions and stuff like that.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. Thanks for coming in. I
Yeah,
mean,
of course.
I mean, you're kind of, we're all around the same age and you're doing stuff, but like we're all in the same boat. We're all grinding. We're all trying to make it. And even if you do have the small successes, like the way you're looking at it, I think is perfect because it's, you kind of put it in the rear view and you just kind of focus ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, that is totally true. I think that's something that because we're being in LA, we're around so many people
Right.
who are trying to do this thing, we kind of understand it. And even if and I know a lot of writers who they're professional or they're like just starting to break in,
Mhm.
and it's like we're all dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But I think your perspective is incredibly healthy. You got to fall in love at least a little bit with the process.
Yes.
Because if it's only result oriented, which there's nothing wrong. I want good results too.
Sure.
But that can't be the driving force. or
Cannot
you
be.
Will,
Yeah.
You will punish yourself.
You will leave this place and
Yeah.
this
and
industry.
you'll be bitter and probably unhappy.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Everyone listening, thank you again. Please hit that like button and even more so the subscribe button. I think that's all I have unless you want to
David,
say it.
you're the
David,
best,
thank
dude.
you.
Thanks
Really
for having me.
appreciate it. Appreciate
course.
you here today. All right, everybody. Signing off for now. We'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.